Hello and welcome all of you buckaroos out there in the audience. Welcome to our session 0 for Haunted West by Darker Hue Studios. I know people have always wondered what happens in a session 0. Normally we just eat Cheetos, perhaps. I don't know. But we're going to find out what happens as we dive into a really interesting setting with a very interesting system, amazing players. We're going to craft the heroes that you will see for the next coming weeks in Haunted West, a town called Hope, as well as find out who they are and what their stories are and what brought them to this mysterious place. But first, why don't we meet the players who will be with you for these next 4 weeks, and who they are and something a little bit about them. So why don't we start, if you don't mind, going opposite the last time. Quinn, who are you? Tell us something about yourself and say hello to the people.
My name's Quinn Murphy. I just found out about this Cheeto thing. I'm gonna have to interrogate y'all later about this. That was not in here, but on a serious note, I am a computer nerd by day and freelance game designer by I would say night, but really like the rest of the time. Yeah, I'm just super excited to be running this game, be playing in this game.
How about Brandy?
Hi, hello, everybody. I am Brandy Rose. I am a talk show host, producer, and as well as game designer and voice actor, amongst all of the other things. You can usually tell about how much I've been doing recently by how many of my friends are yelling at me publicly to take a nap or betting whether or not they've ever seen me blink or breathe. So that is me, pronouns she, they, and I'm really excited to get started and play in this really fun world. It's gonna be really cool.
Uh, Danny?
What's up, y'all? Who am I? My name is Danny. My pronouns are he, him, and you can find me all over the internet at Brutal Dan. I create content all throughout the interwebs through Twitter and Twitch and TikTok. And yeah, I'm deemed the internet's emotional support himbo. And I'm also the community manager for Roll20.
Hmm. Honey?
Hello, everybody. Hello, I'm Honey, aka Honey and Dice. I write games, play games, run games, and I'm so very honored and happy to have been invited back to play another game by one of my favorite game designers. So, thank you for having me. I am the creator of the Embrace the Initiative workshop, and I do a lot of DMing, helping people become more comfortable and confident in their hobby. But mostly, I'm just around telling people that they have value, they're amazing, and that my world is a better place because they are in it. And I'm excited about telling this new story with you all.
Oh, which leads me. I'm Trooper SJP, and I GM. I use mustache wax, and and I play, and I am a multi-generation Westerner of cowboy stock, and I'm very excited to be here for this game, which is by an amazing designer. It's very interesting. It's very cool, and it does, I think, important work that gives you a different take on the Western that has always been there that we never really talked about, and it has a lot of really interesting elements. And today, this session is going to be about weaving the stories that bring us. That will bring us to that moment where our adventure starts, finding out who these players are. And part of this will be about showing you all a little bit about how character creation works, because this is actually a very cool character creation system. So we get to show that off a little bit, as well as talking a little bit about this space so that we're all prepared together. But if you sort of wonder what do you do in a session 0, what happens in a session 0, Well, I mean, we all do different things. One of the things I always think of is like it's a moment to make sure that we're all on the same page, that we all have a sense of what we're doing together. Because it's never necessarily great if one person thinks their game is going to be like yuck yuck Three Stooges, and somebody else is like, oh, I'm going to be in a telenovela, and like then maybe it doesn't work out as well. So like just making sure that we all kind of know what we're doing together, and we have a sense of like what so we can be a good team, and also make sure the table is that we have some ground rules so that we can have the most fun possible, right? Like I always think about safety tools, right? You want to have good safety tools. And I always think, I mean, I feel like we've, in some ways, if you ever played a lot of horror games, we've always used them in some ways, maybe not so overtly, but you want to make sure that if you want a horror game, you want to be scared. You want to be scared in a way that's good and not scared in a way that's bad, right? So things like, hey, I'm really good with like blood, that's fine. Moths, not so much, right? Just like what is it that people like and enjoy to give people the most fun so we can like really sort of jump in there and dive in there. And we are using multiple safety tools, a couple of different ones to sort of help us be the most comfortable so we can have the most excitement. We have lines and veils, and lines and veils, you can also see lines and veils and heads ups. Lines and veils are things like with a line, that's the things like, I don't really want that in this game. That won't be fun for me. Like if this is like, let's maybe not do that. Like, so for example, I personally really don't enjoy GMing sexual assault. I would rather just not have that be in the game. And so I say, if you don't mind, can we just have that be a line? Let's just not have that in our game. And that means that I don't have to worry, right? Like we're all going to be good at that one. And maybe your line might be that you would really prefer not to have jump scares. Okay, we won't have jump scares. Or like, you can do a lot of stuff, but let's just not have like eyes being punctured. Oh, I don't like that. Cool, right? So just, hey, what is it? What are things you're like, and also I'd just say a line is also, maybe a line is where you're at today. Maybe today's just been a really bad week. Your boss has been really awful to you, and you would just rather not have bosses being awful to you right now in the game. So it's a little bit too much. And maybe later it's fine. It's just right now. Can we just not have it? So it's a way for us to know how we can take care of each other and really be good friends to each other in a game by saying, hey, right now, just not that. And you can always sort of revisit them. And then we have veils, and veils are things like, this thing is fine to have in the game, but let's not be like super graphic about it. Let's fade to black, or, just not be super graphic. So somebody might be like, I'm okay with there being violence in the game, but maybe don't spend like 25 minutes in great in-depth being like, and then the sword, and you're like, yeah, I just, maybe not, right? Or you can have the romance, but and then we fade to black, right? So just what are our comfort levels? And we all of us together as a group have done that already. And I will say sometimes people say, oh, we don't need to do that because we're all friends and we all know each other. It's like, well, but you don't know where they're at today. and maybe something's happened in their life. And, this is just a space to have a really good conversation about some ground rules so that when you play, you have one less thing on your mind. It's nice. But those are not the only things we're using. We're also using X, N, and O cards so that we can check in each other in the middle of a game. And O, we can type in our chat, or if we were in person, we could have a card. I like to use, I get those little referee soccer cards, like the yellow and red. So you can just like hold up a little yellow card or a red card. And the O is just a way to say like, hey, how's everybody doing? And if everybody's doing really well, everybody puts in an O and we know that we're good, we can just keep going. And N is like, hey, where we're at right now is fine. Let's not turn up the volume on this one. Let's kind of just stay right about here. This is like a good level of description or tension. Let's not get more intense. And X is like, stop, no, take it out, that's it. This was like, that was not okay. That was like, not okay, let's this is not working for me. Can we just take that out? And I think it's important to note that these cards they're about making sure that the players are having fun, right? They're about making sure that we can have the most enjoyment. And that I always think is really important. I mean, I think many people would sort of be like, oh, that's important in a horror game, of course, but it's important in all games that we can do the things we need to do to be the most safe and the most fun. We'll also be using the scene change, so that if we're doing something, somebody's like, oh, wait, pause, rewind. Actually, I kind of want to retake that. I think that's not what I meant. Or can we sort of refocus that? And this is all about just finding ways that players and GMs, everybody at the table, all of us together, can just have the most fun and tell the most stories and be the most challenged, right? Because I know all of the players and myself even, I know we want really good challenges, right? We want those challenges that make us go, oh, that was so great. Oh, yeah. And we want those to be the things that we enjoy. And so we use these tools as a way to make sure that our games are going to be the most fun and that we can do like the coolest things. And I always like to say, in terms of instead of with along with lines and veils, things like when we had our conversation, like what do we want, right? Like we talked about, we want to be able to sort of show solidarity and triumph and show like these are things we want to have in the game. You can also call them palettes, like what are the colors we want to paint with. And I always encourage all GMs and players to really think about like, oh, what do I want, and always check in. We can always ask, and I think we'll ask each other like, are there any like, oh, we'll ask at the end of this game, is there anything that you really want? If somebody says like, yeah, my character's a gadgeteer and I really want an opportunity to like maybe use a gadget in a conflict, and I was like, okay, I'll note it, right? Just like the things that like share with us what we want and where we're at, and that tends to make the game just more fun for everyone. Do any of you all have thoughts you want to share with our audience about that? Like the
No.
concept of it, as it were.
I think lines and veils are super important, and they're not there to hinder the storytelling. They're there so that it can be way more robust and more exciting without having to stop and go, stop and goes. So yeah, definitely encourage you look into it. I know Roll20, I think that was dropped in the chat, but Roll20 has some built-in safety tools as well. So check them out. I think they're great to use.
Yeah.
And I will just say safety tools are not just for the players, they are for the storytellers or GMs as well. So if you are running a game, it's very important to put your lines and veils in that same document. I also highly recommend, if you can, doing them anonymously so that people do not feel personally pressured to say, hey, that's mine, hey, that's yours, and so on. Sometimes that doesn't work, but having those anonymous entries are important. Just know, telling the story, your boundaries matter just as much as the people in the game.
Yeah, and I know that some people get really nervous about it, but I want to say that like we all have different moments in our lives, right? Like lines and veils are also just about like, because like sometimes like if you've had like a hard day, sometimes you just are like, hey, I've been having a hard day, and I just want to play a game that like, can we just like, just right now, can we just have can we have like a dinner like in the game where we talk with each other and like have a little joy, and you're like, yeah, let's do that because I care about you, you're my friend, and I want to make sure we have some like that the game is like that you as a player are having a good time and that you're taken care of, right? So this is a way for us to be with each other because that's what gaming is about, right? It's about spending time with people and having some kind of joy with each other, whether that joy is about some angstiness where you are talking or not. um, okay, I feel like I'm a little frozen. I don't know if anybody else is, but I feel like you can hear me. Can you hear me?
We can hear
We
you,
can
but your
hear you.
OBS camera is off, I think.
Yeah.
All right. Actually, I think it might be more than that, to be honest. But because I was like, oh, I feel a little frozen. So that said, I'm going to speak while I feel a little frozen. As long as everyone else is going, I'm going to do things in the background. So that's Lines and Veils. I'm going to say a little bit about the setting while I am very subtly doing madness against, right, with my tech as we are speaking. So this is Haunted West. This is a game that is set. It's a Western game by Chris Spivey for Darker Hue Studio, and it is a game that is set in an alternate history. It is set in. It's mostly the history that we know, but one or two things change, and those changes um, made sort of rippled through with larger changes. So I would say, for example, the big moment of change is the fact that the you all know that Lincoln was assassinated, right? When Lincoln was assassinated, that was actually a plot to end the Civil War early, and they didn't plan to just assassinate Lincoln. They planned to assassinate Lincoln and his vice president, and also like the Secretary of State. And in this particular game system, in this alternate history, Lincoln was assassinated, but so was his vice president. And with the vice president and the president assassinated, who came to power was Benjamin Wade, who was a radical reformist Republican who believed in universal suffrage, that women should be able to vote, and that we should maybe not be oppressing and stealing lands from indigenous peoples. And so we end up getting a reconstruction that is more effective and a different path for the United States that allows for more. A bit more justice than the one that we got much earlier. And so that is the setting of this game, Haunted West Reconstruction. And if, Dot, if we could show them the. Me or not, but I'm nervous about it. So I'm going to do a restart. I, I will be back in like 2 minutes because I don't know if it's me or if it's the larger
Wait,
system.
wait, hold on, Trooper. You might be back.
Am I
It might
back?
have been. It might have been when we changed over scenes.
Yep.
Because I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not
Yep.
getting movement. Is my camera moving? Concept. Say, tell me what kind of concept you're thinking about for your character and why you chose that particular one.
Do you want to keep the order we did last time, or do you want to go in sort of?
Let's do it by the. Let's do Honey, Quinn, Brandy, and then Danny.
Okay.
Okay. Hello, everybody. When I was looking at the different paragons, and there's some very amazing concepts that were here, I'm assuming, Trooper, you want us to go ahead and share which one of those we chose initially to be sort of the framework behind our character development. Um, and if I've got that correct, I chose the hunter. Um, Someone who is one with the land, someone who has learned the different herb yielding plants, how to track animals, who's really good at finding things that other people cannot find, as well as someone who may use more traditional weaponry with different knives and archery and so on. But I'm not going to go too far into that until we really see what these random roles result in as we build the character. But I was doing the hunter because of my own background and some family ties and things that I think would be really interesting to explain.
I think for me, I have Moses Jackson, and his basic concept, so his Paragon would be practitioner, who practitioners are kind of like they perform some sort of magic, whether it's like alchemy or demonology or weird science. They sort of actively run at the supernatural and try and harness it in a way that totally won't backfire on them, will be completely safe, right? That's no. Okay. Well, yeah, it's probably gonna get ugly at some point. But then beyond that, he's sort of the concept I have of Moses is sort of like a grifter's grifter. Like Moses is the kind of guy who regularly talks slick to a can of oil and like some fair amount of time gets away with it, and then the other time hilarity ensues, and going with that, the magic that he's a practitioner of is demonology. Because of course, if you're going to try and sort of hoodwink people, why not just hoodwink demons, right? Again, what could go wrong? I just really like playing characters who are generating. I'm hoping for your trooper, I will generate lots of like great trouble-filled moments just by being me.
Beautiful. All right. So yeah, I will be playing Nori, aka full name Usui Nori. Nori is actually Tarahumara for Cloud, which is also my heritage. So it's really, really cool to have created this Paragon of the Drover, which is, I saw that in the book and immediately I was like, this is perfect. I love her. I know her. I can see her. Some of the historical examples that came up was like to have like rodeo riders, famous like cattle rustlers, trail bosses, Mustang runners. I was like, I love her. I love her so much. I can't wait. So I'm really excited to kind of explore this. I love that it's like sometimes celebrated, sometimes derided. You and your house make your living on the trail with grit, skill, and the knowledge of the ways of man and beast. I thought it would be a really great way to integrate also like the heritage of like being indigenous and living more like with a principality of like being one with your environment and the land. So I'm really excited for Nori, the rodeo queen. And the like way that I've interpreted her being a drover is that she is a quick-witted haramuri, which is the actual name that we use for our people. She's a traveling rodeo queen who can get what she needs with the flash of a smile or of her lasso, whatever it takes. I know that she's 20, and I know that I have 10 pages of notes of her personality to fall back on, which some of you in chat might be familiar with my habits of over preparing. So yeah, I'm very excited to explore even more and like answer all of these really fun character building questions with everybody and everybody's really cool characters.
So exciting.
Sweet. And I'll round out our ragtag crew. I'm playing Raiden Chen, and his character is the gadgeteer. And the way I described him as a clumsy tinkerer who can turn a gun into a flower holder and a flower holder into a rain machine. So I picture Raiden as a very enthusiastic and maybe naive, but also he just wants his hands on everything. He always just wants to be involved and tries to see things in a different light. How can you turn something mundane into something fantastical? And sometimes that might not be the vibe, but he's going to do his best to try, and things will probably blow up in his face. He probably always has smudges all over him, dirty hands, dirty fingernails, but a very enthusiastic, believes in the future, knows that like in the year 2000 we're gonna have flying cars and look like the Jetsons. So that is his life passion, is to get us to that place.
Amazing. Good. I can see you all. Yay! I was like, there you are. There are your beautiful faces. That was everyone. Yes. Okay. So in this game, there's a soul setup to sort of build your character's history and your paths. One of the first things you do when you sort of run this game is you pick your traits. We're going to do that not first though. We're going to do that a little bit later, so we can kind of get a sense of where we're at and what's going on with us. So I think one of the first things that we are going to do, since we are doing this we're going to do slightly in a slightly different order. We are going to do the next part of our out of our path, which is going to be. Let me get right there. We are going to do our milestones. We're going to sort of build our character's history, and I actually have. I'm going to go and take us to a different page for people who want to see what it looks like. One of the first things that you see is we roll or decide. You have a choice. You can roll or you can pick what your lineage is. And this beautiful tome, Haunted West, which you can get right here, which is substantial, has a lot of exciting options for you. So let's start off and let's find out what your beginning is. Where did you start? Were you born in the West? Did you start out East? Where are you from? A different country? Where are you from? Did you start at the bottom? You start at the bottom, but now you're on top. Are you so fancy that everybody already knows? These are these are questions. So let's find out what y'all's lineages are, and let's maybe start telling some stories about that. Yeah, Danny, would you like to roll and or perhaps choose?
Yeah, let's do it. So all I have to do right now is just roll a d8, right?
Roll a d8.
Let's roll them bones. First roll.
What you got?
I got a 1, a nat 1 for my first roll on a d8.
Interesting. Okay, so that would mean that that is enslaved. That you would have been born to one or more enslaved parents. You might have been born into chattel labor or boarded labor, right? Indentured servitude. What would you like to keep that, or would you like to choose something else? Roll or choose.
I think we'll keep it for now. The way I kind of envision it is that maybe being enslaved is a part of my story, in the fact that like I didn't have a traditional mom and dad, so I moved from family to family, and my parental figures were a part of the enslavement. So
Yeah.
I kind of jumped around in my childhood.
Yeah, and it could also be because being enslaved is also indentured servitude,
Right.
Or maybe you're working on you're working for a factory or some kind of owner that basically you owe them money so you can never leave, right? So like, there's all sorts of forms of sort of enslavement that happens through company towns and all of that, right? So you can ponder what that means, but this means that you have a result, and I would say add this to your character sheet as we're thinking about it, that you're going to be able to get a +1 in your physique and a +5 to fortitude skill, low profile, which is lets you to sort of blend in, and psychology. Okay, good. Honey, what about you? You can roll virtually or in person, whichever is best for you. A good d8. Oh, you have a 6. That is indigenous. You grew up in an indigenous family. your family's relationship with the colonizers varies widely depending on the region you live in, which doesn't mean that you are necessarily indigenous, but when it comes to where you have like where you were hanging out, what do you think about that? Would you like to keep it? Would you like to move? How does that feel for you?
I would love to keep that for reasons that can probably be fleshed out upon, but there were a lot of things going on at that time, even in indigenous communities, when you think
Oh,
about
yeah.
the Choctaw freedmen and all of
Mhm.
these different groups and so
Discriminate.
on.
Yeah.
That can be a very layered kind of background, but I think it would lend itself to a hunter paragon very, very well.
Nice. Oh, I love this. Oh, I love that. Okay. All right. Brandy, how about you? Would you like to roll? Would you like to choose? Where are you at?
I decided to choose because I'm also using this as a way to kind of represent my own background. I was like, what is very like traditional for like the Raramuri is like they stay typically like very like in their community, and we are a people that are still like 70,000 people strong of people living like just in the community speaking the language, not to mention all of the people like me who have come from families that like ended up splitting off and like moving around. So I was like, I think it'd be really cool if Nori also grew up indigenously, but to show that there are a bunch of different ways that can happen, that can look like.
That's amazing. I love that. And I just want to highlight right now, before we before we move forward to Quinn, that one of the cool things about the life path system is that you have the option of rolling and taking what you get, rolling and being like, oh, that no, I think I want to do something different, or just choosing, right? So there's a lot of flexibility. And what's also really, I think, really awesome about the ways in which the life path system, all of these events, is that it's very open to what it might mean, right? Growing up indigenous could mean that you are, or that you were adopted in, right? It could mean all sorts of things. What it means to be lower class, you can decide what that means for you as well. So these are, in ways, these are storytelling prompts that help you sort of build your character's story, but they don't restrict you. So Quinn, how about you?
Cool. So I want to pick,
Please.
and I want to pick that the elite
Ooh.
7 roll. So so Moses was born. He did not actually develop his fast talking, grifting skills on his own. He actually comes from like it runs in the family, right?
Nice.
And that's sort of how his family got free,
Mm,
right? They kind of like they cooked up
mm.
kind of some stuff. They like made some like like false papers,
Ooh.
right? And then like constructed this whole thing. So like when he was born free, right?
Yeah.
And they and they were running like you know uh successful stuff, and it's like by the time they ran such a real scam, by the time they got legit, it was like where the scam started and where it ended are like no longer visible.
Oh, that's so cool. I love that. And we can find out what kinds of scam as we go and how
Oh
people are.
yeah.
Oh, that's really fun. Okay, so right now we're just doing our humble beginnings, just like our opening background.
Mhm.
The next thing we roll, and we can go to the no map screen at the moment if you don't mind, Dot, because we're good for the moment. How about siblings? How many siblings? And let's do this horseshoe and go the other direction. Quinn, we're going to start with you. Would you
Okay.
like to roll or choose?
This I'm gonna roll for,
All
because
right.
that is a that is like a that is like one of those essential non-essential parts of my themes that will be interesting. What am I rolling a d8 for that,
A
or
D6.
d6? Okay, and rolling 6.
Ooh. You have a multitude of siblings. You
Oh,
come
this is
from
gonna be
a large
great.
family and have many living siblings, at least so far. Uh, so, would you please roll another D6?
Yeah.
We're going to find out how many siblings you have, at least at this point in time in your life.
3.
Three. If you would not mind, could you roll a D4?
Mm, exploding. I love it.
Mm-hmm. You have
Green.
6 living siblings
Okay, I
at
love it.
the moment, because we're just still at the very beginning of your life. Could you make a note somewhere in your notes that you're going to be rolling twice, 1d12 twice on the life events table?
Okay, 1d12 twice. Hold on.
Life events for your siblings. We're going to find out how well your life is going from this very, very good start. We'll find out where it ends. Okay. Belle, how about you? How about siblings? Would you like to choose or would you like to roll?
I am going to roll. If roll to, okay, there we go. So 1d6. Yep.
So excited. What we've got here. Oh, you're
Oh.
an only child. How do you
That's
feel
it?
about that?
That can work because, like you said, there's some stuff that can
Oh, yeah.
happen in roles, and I think for my set of parents, like biologically, I was the only one.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, I like that. Okay. Please note, you're going to roll 1d12 on the life events table.
Okay.
Okay. Danny, would you like to roll or choose?
I'm gonna roll.
All right. Oh,
I'm obsessed with these random tables. I think this is such
Yeah.
a fun thing.
and I love how you then have to interpret what that means. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Twins. How do you feel about that?
Let's do twins. I have an identical or fraternal twin.
Ooh.
What
That's
would you
cool.
like?
I would like an identical twin, and I'm picturing we got separated at birth. So there's been like whisperings of like I have a sibling out there, but I think maybe through my indentured servitude being enslaved, we've kind of gone through like 2 different life paths, and there's just been whispers across town that there's somebody else like me out there.
Will you roll a 1d4?
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm.
3.
On a 1, it would indicate that your twin died in childhood. Or you think they did, but you don't think that, right? So, but that could have been some exciting drama. So please make a note that you will roll a 1d6 on your life path, your life event table,
Cool.
to sort of think about your twin. Which
Wow.
I know, right? I'm already excited about this. Brandy, choose or roll.
I did actually roll, and I rolled a multitude.
Nice.
So I ended up rolling 5 siblings who I have named, and I have their ages.
Oh, I love this. Okay, this is the best. Also, I love that. So we have 2 so you are going to come together as a posse in the end, and 2 of you, like one is an only child, one is an identical twin, but without that twin, and the other 2 have huge, so far at this moment in your lives, living siblings, and that is very interesting. Which gives us the next question, which is who raised you? You know when you started, but who raised you? Brandy, would you like to roll or choose?
I rolled, and that was a bit of a shocker because I was like, "Oh, this is like a lot of like siblings. What would it be like to grow up there?" But then I rolled a 6, which is extended family, and I was like,
Oh.
"What happened there?"
So-
Because I don't
Another
have
thing that
Nori
you
as the
raised you.
baby.
Oh.
hmm
That's
So
interesting.
I have who raised me. I have it as a aunt Bahui. And on Bahui, I was like, yes, this is the aunt. And then I decided to like, it didn't say I can't. So I split up the siblings.
Oh.
Some stayed with the parents, some stayed with Nori and Bahui.
Oh, that's very exciting.
Thank you, Kat.
So now, of course, you know there's a question, right? Why? What happened there? I suppose we'll find out soon. But what happened there? Now I want to know. Okay, all right. Honey, how about you? Who raised you? And that's a D8 if you'd like to roll. Oh, 6. Extended family. Another family member raised you. How do you feel about that?
I think thinking along the lines I am with the where she was born, to whom she was born, that she was only child. Depending on life events, there is a chance she ended up with a member of the extended family because her other parents could not, her biological parents could not raise her.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So make a note. 1d10 on the life events table.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Quinn. Roll or
I
choose.
am rolling here. I had a thought here, but it's like the rolls are just so fun. It takes you like someplace you just did not
Adventures.
expect.
Yeah, yeah. Like you can
Yeah.
also do both.
Yeah. So let's 5 orphan.
Ooh. Both parental figures
Ooh.
died, left, or gave you up, and you're alone with your multiple siblings, right? So, how do you feel about that?
Um, I think that's good. I mean, I feel like I don't know. Like I feel like in this situation in the Griff sort of family, I
Yeah.
feel like we're doing sort of like absentee anime
Yeah.
dad kind of thing. Like like I'm going to teach you by not being here,
Oh,
and
yeah.
like you're gonna like learn all your life lessons trying to find me kind of
Oh,
thing.
yeah, yeah. So, yeah, because like orphan, like maybe you don't know what happened to your parents, right? So it's you and your siblings. Oh, that's interesting. Um, roll 1d4 on the life events table is what you have. And Danny, who
Right.
raised you?
Who raised me? Let's see. A 2.
Both of your parents. Both parental figures are present. How do you feel about that?
I think I like how that's worded because I think they're both present, but I don't right now. I don't know my relationship with them after
Yeah.
all this time. So,
Yes.
um,
Yeah.
yeah, that's definitely something fun to play with because even though my parents are present, I don't know how much they had
Yeah.
with my upbringing,
Yeah.
and all that.
Ooh, that's interesting. So note you will roll 1d12 twice on the life events table. So that is this beginning moment, right, to think about your character, a bit of a setup, but we have to learn, of course, the first life lessons that you have. And I'm going to note, once we get past your adolescence, we're going to go and roll those life events, and then we're going to tell the story of our early child. What we're going to weave this into a tale, and I want to know about your people. So, in your life lessons, what are the first things you learned about life, society, fairness, what it takes to get along? What skills or tendencies did you pick up? Uh, you know, what happened to you in those early moments? Right? We're talking like 5, 6, 7, 8, like this sort of era of your life. So, what's neat about this is there's a table that for each of your lineages, right? So if you have a depending on your lineage, you're going to get different life lessons. Somebody who grew up elite is going to get different life lessons than somebody who grew up like working in a factory. So Danny, your character grew up not free. So that would be page 129. There is a table there for the life lessons that you would have learned as somebody whose lineage was enslaved, and that is a D6.
All right, let's
If you'd
see.
like to roll or choose.
Yeah, I'll roll. Let's see. A 3.
A 3 is field enslaved. Working in the fields, you can also think about like any kind of sort of outdoor sort of manual labor, right? Became your family's back, bent your family's back, but never broke it. You've witnessed and experienced horrors and atrocities no one should ever have to. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think that's pretty cool, and I think that's kind of what has drove me to look into science and trying to create things so that my family in the future would not have to
Yeah.
experience those atrocities.
Okay, so now I'm going to tell you now this is very cool about building your character. It gives you when you sort of have this moment, there are impacts for what that means. And so for Danny's character, that means one, he's going to get a +1 to his physique because you had to do a lot of physical labor. And now Danny has three choices to make. He can get a +10 in either the athletics or the fortitude skill. He gets to choose one of those two, that pair. +10% in either dodge or resilience, or a +10% in either trade or observation. And you can choose how your character went through, right? how that sort of shaped those early experiences shaped you. You know, are you more athletic? You can like slip out of those things, or can you just take it physically? You know, are you really good at dodging, or like just mental fortitude? Like how did this experience shape what kind of skills your character had?
Yeah, that's cool. I think at first glance, like you would just look at Raiden and just assume that he was just like in the books all the time, just very nerdy,
Yeah.
very dirty, but
Yeah.
like he has that grit. Like
Yeah.
he grew up in that setting. And a lot of people that aren't close to him or haven't seen him do anything other than science, they probably would not know that.
That's
So
amazing.
it might be a surprise to people that he's a little athletic, and he's a
Yeah.
little he's stronger than what his meekness and his
Yeah.
overtly positive attitude would prevail, I think.
Well, that's amazing. I love that. Okay, honey, how about you? You grew up, if I remember correctly, indigenous. Would you like to roll, or would you like to choose?
Rolled a 3.
Ooh, of the war. Your family taught warfare tactics and the use of weapons. Your skills were honed in battle, and enemies fear your prowess. How do you feel about that?
I like it. I think I'll take it because that's going along the tip of where I was talking about the archery and
Yeah.
so on.
Oh, nice. And we're gonna and like I'm gonna ask you all when we finish this part what that means and how you pull that together. And so you're gonna get like a +1 in physique, and you might get
Mm-hmm.
a +1 in archery or long arms, dodge or stealth, resilience or tactics. And so with each one you get these pairs. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Brandy, how about you?
I rolled 6 of the cunning. So that is interesting.
So your family has no qualms about taking the money or goods of the colonizers. They are living on stolen land after all. Your family knows the value of hiding their intentions, though, which will give you a bonus in reflexes and give you choices between business or trade, convince or ingratiate, deception or legerdemain. And I assume you've made some choices on that one. Uh-huh.
I have made some choices.
Ooh.
I've made a few choices. I think I thought it was interesting, and for characterization, I was thinking of like, well, if I lived with the aunt, and I
Mhm.
was like, well, I had already decided like Drover, like she's a rodeo queen. I was like, maybe she learned it from her aunt. Also, I didn't say so earlier. I made all of the siblings sisters. It's
Nice!
just a bunch of girls.
Love it. Love it.
It's 6 girls, and this aunt suddenly had 3 of them. I was like, you know what? If you are indigenous and you are traveling and you are a performer,
Yeah.
I think it actually fits really well to like have the value of hiding your intentions and
Yeah.
being able to be like, I am genuine. I can be genuine. I am here to entertain, but I'm also aware of my place
Mhm.
in the different places that I go through, and I am aware of how to navigate situations in a way that is like smooth. And it fit really well with the initial thing of like gets what she wants with the flash of her smile or her whip. And I was like, you know what? Actually, I feel like that could work really, really well. I did leave the business or trade / convince or gratiate. Like I left those choices up for us to go through together. I did leave us a little bit of homework that I could still interactively do with
Nice.
everybody.
But it's such like how do you feel like what do you think about that? I love that. Okay,
Mhm.
Quinn, elite.
Well, I am not rolling this one. I am picking this one because I got one
Pick
that's
it.
perfect in mind. One property. So, like, the way I'm envisioning it is like in hope, like basically, like again in this sort of like anime parent. We're gonna like leave you one day so you can like find out yourself. They just kind of like left us with a family business, which is like some big kind of like saloon slash gambling den slash XXX. There's a whole bunch of stuff that this place is into,
Oh, I love
and
it.
that's like the family, and then me and the siblings like run it.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm just sort of I want you to picture this right now. So we have Hope, right? This town that is not that old of a town. It's probably like 4 or so years old. And in this town, there's a saloon. You and your family, we can figure out what that means, own it, and you have a ranch and a saloon. So I just want you to know, like, that y'all as a collective have this ranch and you have the saloon. So your group of people are quite important in this town, right? Like you have
Mhm.
you're like you're important to this town, right? So like I'm loving what this means. Like, what does it mean to be a grifter or a traveler who all of a sudden in various moments, right? Various people who have lost people who now have this space and people now will look to you, right? That'll be really interesting to see how that develops.
Yeah, like I'm seeing it as almost like it's like we're like ground zero of the dirt
yeah,
that gets done, right? It was just like, that is sort of like
Yeah.
like I have a hard time seeing Moses being respectable, but he's respected because this is a place where you come to do these things. So
Yeah.
which somebody has to do.
And I also sort of imagine I imagine that what it means to be respectable is different in this place, right? Like this is a place where different kinds of people get to be respectable than in some other kind of place because you're not in New York,
love it,
right?
yeah.
You're in Hope, and so what it means to be respectable is a little bit different, and that is exciting.
I love it.
Yeah. So this leads us with your adolescence. We have to figure out what happened in your adolescence, which is when you start coming into your own, right? So now you're hitting 10, 11, and you're making that transition from being a child to being close enough to an adult at this point in time. You grew up fast. And then you start getting freedoms and responsibilities and opportunities and, of course, dangers. And so you're definitely working at this point in time. And what did you spend your adolescence doing would be the question. And this is a 1d12 for each of us. And Brandy, I feel like you might have an idea. How did you spend your adolescence?
So I rolled an 11, which I thought was at first I wasn't sure if I was gonna keep it, but then I was like, actually, I think that it's really interesting.
And that is raised by
because-
engineers.
Mhm. Yes, raised by engineers. So I like the little blurb. It says, as a child, you took everything apart so you could learn to put it back together. And I was like, actually, I think that translates really, really well to a professional people person, because I'm also a professional people person.
Yeah.
And I definitely took some stuff apart as a child. And I was like, it'd be really cool to take these skills, especially because it gives you those choices.
Yeah.
And I thought I would be like, okay, there's a lot of ways that you can take the skills of taking things apart and figuring out how they work and applying it to people and reading people and figuring out how they work quickly. And I was like, that would actually be really, really great for somebody who was raised by the cunning and somebody who is like a professional like entertainer and traveler. And I thought that actually meshed really well. So I'm going to keep it.
Yeah, and I'm thinking myself, like I can imagine if you're like part of like if you're like a traveling rodeo queen, like I'm imagining something like you probably have coaches, right? Wagons, tents that have to be built up. Like there's probably like a whole sort of infrastructure that has to sort of be built up for for the rodeo and for this entertainment and then like brought down. So I imagine there are people within this sort of large group who are basically engineers, right? Who have to build these things. And like,
Exactly.
of course you'd learn that. Oh, that's so awesome. Okay.
Yep. And it says repair in it, and I was like, absolutely. Nori is the person to be able to repair things
Oh, I love that.
around the place that they're on.
And hey, audience, what's really neat is that you always have a choice. Like, oh, do I want repair or tinker? Okay, do I want logic or mechanics? And you can sort of decide. It's about like, how did this experience impact like who you've become? Danny, what about you? Your adolescence.
Let's see. I want to roll first, and then let's see what the fate
Mm-hmm.
hands me first. And I got a 7.
Oh, a 7. Raised as a fugitive, always on the run and never settled, you learned early to defend yourself. How do you feel about that?
Oh wait, hold on.
I'm sorry, that's a 5. 7.
Yeah.
Raised at war. Your
Yeah.
parental figure was a soldier, and you know just what it takes to be one, or at least be mistaken for one.
Yeah, I think that fits in well. I know I mentioned earlier, like maybe they were present, but they weren't always around.
Yeah.
So I kind of I want to work that into some story where maybe my parents were a part of the war and they had to find a way for me and my sibling that might be out there to survive.
Yeah.
So
and
maybe
the war
they
separated you. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And maybe I became an indentured servant just to live, just to try to
Yeah.
make
Now,
it through.
you're kind of young, right? Which means the war was probably the Civil War, although it could have been a different, because there are a lot of wars that are going on at this moment in different ways, like large and small, land wars, water wars. Like there's a lot going on there. So you can like ponder what you want to do with that one. Quinn, how about you?
We're definitely rolling for this one. I had some thoughts, but yeah,
Okay.
we're 5.
You were raised as a fugitive, actually. On the run and never settled. So let me. I get. So you were elite. A lot of money. Clearly, something has happened in your younger moments that has you raised as a fugitive. Where you learned how to defend yourself.
I feel like at some part it's like kind of, you know, like the 7 of us were kind of, you know, raised to sort of use our sort of social skills to harvest bounty from the world, right? For a world that's basically been unfair to us anyway, so who cares, right? I think I see Moses as somebody who's pretty ambitious. So it's like, hey, we have a pretty good thing running here, but I bet you I could do a little bit better. And so I went out, and that didn't go so well. We can touch on what that means, but when we get there, and I came back kind of wanted by some folks.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I like that very much. Honey. Oh, you have a 12. Okay. Raised by the elite. There are certain things that a person of class must know, and you are most definitely a person of class. You didn't start out that way, but it seems as if in your adolescence, somehow, if you choose this, that you somehow came into a space, and perhaps that is extended family, or how do you feel about that?
So I'm going to ask if I can do one thing. Can I do one more roll to see what that is, and then choose one of these?
Absolutely.
Just because I have ideas, but
it's often like just how you feel. You know what I mean? Like how does that feel for you? Absolutely.
Just does make things in
okay. 1. Okay. So you have choices. 12 is raised by the elite, and 1 is raised on a plantation.
Okay, chat.
Chat.
Which one? If you choose 1 or 12, and I will tell the story behind it.
Now let me read the description for 1.
Yeah.
You've left servitude behind, but you still remember every skill you learned to survive it.
Mm-hmm.
So either way, this actually could still be the plantation, depending on just where
Correct.
you are. Where you are.
Yep. Remember my
right? Like it could be the same space. Can we get a poll? Can I get a poll in here? Ooh, can I? I feel like there's a whole command for this, right? It's isn't it? Is it poll? Poll, maybe poll.
Seeing lots of 12 so far, though.
Oh, I don't have permission to do that. I can't do it. One of our mods would probably have to do it. Probably people. It looks like people are voting 12.
Yeah, 12.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about that?
I can work with that.
Yeah.
Especially with the history of people being born into specific circumstances, and oftentimes being selected or chosen by other families, either as I hate to use this term, but a token or someone that they're going to show that they're, oh, I'm so benevolent and so on. Taking this rough raised survivalist and say, we're going to give you some class. And I've got some thoughts on that with my own Creole background of where I could run with that. Like she's been taught, she had to do the classes. She knows how to put on the dresses. Not her favorite thing in the world. But she was given, at least in her adolescence, some fundamental education in this regard.
Yes, I love that. Now, the next thing is apprenticeship, but I think it's important to roll for our siblings now, just to, like those life events, to find out where we're at this moment with our siblings. Now, honey, did you have a life event roll? I feel like
yes, I have 2 life event rolls. I have a 1d12 for number for siblings,
would you, if you don't mind, roll that? Let's find out about this.
Okay.
Let's find out about this. Your
D20.
life events. A
One.
one.
Like this dice likes either or.
This is to capture the important events that have happened in your childhood.
Mm-hmm.
Attacked.
Okay.
Your home was attacked by outside forces. The attack resulted in the destruction of property, injury to yourself or family members, and possibly the death of one or more loved ones. How do you feel about that?
I think it
That's
fits.
childhood, yeah?
I think it fits 100% with not only of the war,
Oh, yeah.
but the eventuality of her being raised by the elite and it being extended family.
Oh, interesting. What kind of attack? Do you think the war was basically the attack was part of the war?
It definitely lends itself to being part of that type of war and
Mhm.
people having to be on the go and endeavoring to survive and then
Yeah.
it, making the final decision. You go stay with your auntie, your uncle, or whoever it is, who happens to live this other lifestyle that might be safer for you. Especially considering if you think about Plisage at that time and you
Yeah.
think about all of these people who were African American or freed and lived at a different
Yeah.
socioeconomic status.
Yeah. Oh, so interesting. Okay, Danny, what is your life event you've got related to your sibling? What do you have?
That's the one I roll 1d6.
Okay.
Is this under family relations?
Under life events.
Life events.
Because, I mean, if all of your siblings die, you don't need to roll under family relations, is all I'm saying. It's just how that goes. Because that can happen, right?
Yeah.
Just saying.
So yeah, I guess so. Did I have? So who raised you? I was supposed to roll 1d12 twice.
But that will come.
That'll come later. Okay.
Yeah. Siblings first.
Siblings first. So I'll just roll a. Is it a d6 or a d12?
What did you have? Let me check.
Number of it was my twins, my twinsies.
So for your twin, a 1d6.
Okay.
To see what happens to you. Is what important life events?
Oh, 6.
Interesting. Religion. A new religious movement catches your parental figure's attention. One or both parental figures start following a new religious movement that might result in the separation of your family.
Ooh.
And you can get like a +5 to expression and a +5 to scholar religion. Note, with all these things you get bonuses to skills and note what you get so you put them in your character sheet. What do you think about that?
Looking at 1 through 6, I kind of want to lean more into maybe the gold rush.
Do it.
And
Absolutely.
so one of my parents was a soldier, and the other one had gold fever. So it says gold fever strikes one or both parental figures.
Yeah.
They headed west in search of gold. And it says they might have taken you along, but we'll see. It might have been somebody else.
Okay. Quinn, what is the life event connected to that?
So for my sibling one, because I have so many siblings, I think I roll 1d12 twice.
Please
Okay.
do.
All right. Okay. So let's see what kind of spice we bring to the table here.
Yeah. What kind of spice you got?
Oh, sorry. I was actually accidentally put that in the Twitch chat. Sorry. Right place. Roll20. There we go. 1 for my first one.
Attack.
And okay, that's gonna be fun. And then 2. Okay, we're clustering.
Disaster.
Okay.
So attack is your home is attacked by forces which could result in some death or property destruction, family members, right? Disaster. Maybe it was under a cold snap that killed the crops and cattle. Another natural event or the watchful eye of outside forces. Your people are subjugated to famine conditions. So you've got starvation and hunger, potentially leading to the deaths of one or more family members or the people you live with. And you get to choose. If you're like, I think that out of my 6 siblings, I think I lost 2 of them to famine. This is all up to you. About that.
So okay. So I think I want to put these two together.
Sure.
Actually, so when I see these two, I think like before we settled on the place and sort of like hope, there is this kind of there's some like weird supernatural kind of event. This is like some like haunting of Hill House kind of like claimed like maybe like just one sibling, but like that it took them, and then we kind of ran and scattered, and we sort of find out maybe about some curse or some kind of deal. Like I don't know. I think possibly.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
And it is not at all related to this adventure that's coming up at all. I swear.
Okay. Oh, cool. That's great.
Could I posit that for some reason, the land where you were at, you don't know why, you don't know how, started wasting away as it was being drained of life forces, and then one of your siblings started wasting away.
Yeah.
You don't know why or what was happening. At first, you thought maybe there was something wrong with the land, right? As the land around your space just started to die, right? But of course, the drought seemed to be fairly localized. This sort of drought, where it wasn't also 5 miles over there. It was just this kind of area. And then when your siblings started like also wasting away, it was very clear something was not right.
Right. And then I think when the sibling sort of kind of that happened and completed, that's also sort of when the parents left. And then I think that is probably where I sort of start on the demonology kind of road, is because I find their texts.
Yes.
And sort of what they were dabbling in.
Oh.
This will be great. This will be great.
Yes, it will. For no reason at all. Brandy. I love presents.
So I had two things that I rolled. So the first thing that I rolled was a 4.
Which is displaced, which makes a lot of sense. That's very good.
Yep. So I played that as so the siblings are let me grab all of them real quick. Because this is where I was like, this is where I think they got split. So I have Bimori, the eldest. So at this current stage of the game, Nori is 20, Bimori is 27, Mitsa 25, Ahui is 22, and then there's the twins Sume and Sure, who are 16. Chat should maybe stop saying the W word. And I was thinking, okay, I think what I wrote out, a small paragraph, tiny little thing, where I was like, okay, I think internal paragraph, like internal conflict, sorry, brain blue screening, internal conflict broke out between her family and maybe another that was within the community of like what they were living with when they were very young. And they had to leave the community, but without the support of a community, with that many kids, that big of a family, they decided to split them up. And so Micha, Ahui, Nori lived with Aunt Bahui, and that left the twins with the eldest sister Bimori with the parents. And then the next thing that I rolled, because this chart had it out for me, is 3.
Oh, illness. Oh. An area where you live is overcome with sickness, which could result in the death of one or more family members or people you live with.
Yes. And then I am evil. So I killed their mom. So I was like...
I love a good evil player. Love it.
I was like, for the drama. I was like, interesting. Illness swept maybe the family. Maybe they've been able to come back together. Honey. Got to I just took the hiding the face and I was like, I'm not that evil, I swear. But I also named the parents, Sionami and Rahui. That's the dad is Rahui. And I was like, so maybe illness swept through the community while they were all traveling, also affected their family at home. Maybe, if we want to make it really tragic, maybe accidentally from traveling,
Yeah.
Rahui and the girls brought illness to the family when they visited them again.
Yeah.
So I'd say the twins would have been very small if she was a teenager, and the mom might have passed away from it. So yeah, I killed their mom.
It was the
My
illness.
bad.
It wasn't you. It was the dice.
It was the illness. It wasn't me. It was
Yeah.
the illness. It was the dice. Yes,
Mhm.
exactly.
I love you all so much.
Mhm.
Which leads us to the question of your apprenticeship, and then last rolls on the events table to finish your humble beginnings. And the apprenticeship is what you did to provide yourself for yourself when learning an occupation. And what's very cool about the apprenticeship, which is like the last bit before you actually sort of get your paragon, is that you're given a choice. You have to make a choice in that will decide something about who you are and what life you're going to lead. And honey, can we go with you first? Would you like to roll or choose your apprenticeship?
Let me roll because I love using Roll20 in a way that is working for me, which is actually a miracle. So while we're on this blessed day, I'm going to
D12.
roll a 1d12. Okay, that's it.
Oh, a 10. Let's see.
What?
Military service. You join the armed forces in some capacity. And the question would be, if you choose this, was it on the front lines or was it the support line? And what that means, it's interesting, right? Like, uh, you know how many women fought in the Civil War in disguise or not, depending on what they were doing. There's such a really amazing history of well, let's be fair. Women have always fought in every conflict because conflicts happen in people's homes, right? So I would ask, would you be interested in that?
I have, because my brain is this strange place that comes up with stuff like botanical steampunk. Um, I
We know the war
using
comes
that.
to your place, right? Yeah.
Yes, using that and using how I am seeing Belle in my head, it is very possible that even in disguise, based on her upbringing, how she was trained, the connection she made when she was taken care of with the mysterious family member and learning more about elite, and because I was choosing things like scholar and so on in there, it is very possible that in her own quiet way of seeking justice, that she went ahead, shaved her head,
Yeah.
put on the uniform, and went to serve, um, because of how much that meant to her, or even a hope of reuniting with some of her family that she
Yeah.
was not allowed to stay with.
My goodness. What a cool story we're getting for your character. So, front lines or support line?
She is archery specialist, and I'm trying to see. As a person who is very stealthy, is very, very good at being seen when she wants to be and not seen,
Mm-hmm.
it's a difficult call.
That is,
Huh?
right? I mean, it's tricky, right? Because front lines gives you extra bonuses on athletic skills, support extra bonuses on repair.
I'm going to say, because it amuses me and because I have a whole thing coming together in my head, especially if you've never seen an archer who is also a sniper and the ability to use the bow and arrow, that I think that's going to be her specialty.
Yeah.
That she has an eagle eye, so
Yeah.
to speak, and that is how she served. So we're going to go with frontline.
Yeah. Nice sniper. Nice. Okay. Love it. Love it. Okay. All right. Danny?
All right, yeah, let's see. 1d12.
Yes, please.
A 6.
Huh. Ivory Tower. You went into academia, which could range anywhere from a school teacher like Ichabod Crane, all the way to an esteemed academic or a polymath like the real-life professor Norbert Rilieu. And you are a tinker.
Yeah, I kind of like that. And I could choose if I taught
Mhm.
or if I worked.
Yes.
And I'm thinking that for Raiden, he went straight to working. He would pick up any sort of odd jobs in academia to try to learn within that space, because he wasn't ever supposed to be in those ivory towers, but he kind of like snuck his way in there.
That's so cool. And you're going to get now bonuses on electronics, so that's really neat. Quinn, how about you?
I'm picking again because it's just like very obvious for me what it was. Life of Crime.
Absolutely was a life of crime.
And now for which one we pick, so our Jackson family saying passed down from mom and dad is that bullets hurt but words kill. So
You have a choice of
right,
in this moment it's violence or words.
right, and so because words kill, I chose words. Right.
Absolutely.
I think part of our motto and how we built things was they're like, hey, if you want to like take out a person for a while, you shoot them, but if you want to like lock people down and like for centuries and do your stuff, you use words, and so that we learn to use them for ourselves.
Oh, Brandy.
I picked this one because also it felt very obvious, and like this was kind of when like Nori was like really coming together of like personality wise, and I was like, that's entertainment. So 11.
Absolutely. Now, the question becomes: was it for the audience or for the craft?
It was for the audience. It was for the audience because I have figured out that this is a person with a capital B, capital P, bold personality. You will hear her, which is something that I always take as like a little sideline of like, yeah, you like there's these posts that go around of like, oh, when people talk over you and you kind of fade out. My best friend once said, no, I don't know what that's like at all. You will hear me. And I have taken that and made it a life philosophy. She's just full of little wisdom like that, and I was like, this is Nori, like you will hear her, and it's not in a way that is aggressive or even terribly assertive so much as like you can't help but hear her. She's loud,
and she probably has
here, and she is here for the crowd.
Yes,
exactly.
I love that.
She's here for the crowd.
I just love all of this, but we have to do our last life events thinking about our parental figures. Since you killed your mom, I feel like we should start with you for that last life event. I'm sorry, the dice.
Oh boy, yes.
Mom. The dice killed your mom, not
Ow! I feel called out.
No, it's not. It was the dice. The dice do it.
No, it's not. Yeah, it was not me. It was not me. Let me see. I've lost the chart here for a second, but because I actually left one life event open because I knew I was going to have another one.
Yes. So that would have been 1d10 on life events for extended family.
Okay, awesome. I'm clicking between my 18 tabs that are open. All right. So
I have all the tabs, all of it. All the tabs.
That's also what my brain looks like. I'm sorry, which D did you say? D8 or D6?
D10.
Oh, D10.
Yes.
None of the above.
Very
much so. I rolled a 3.
More illness. So this illness is hitting hard.
Oh, yep.
The dice
it sure did hit. Absolutely. Oh boy, who dies now? Who dies now?
Hey, you know what though? You're getting more resilience, more fortitude, and more first aid is what I'm trying to tell you out of this one.
What I'm thinking is chat, if you have a suggestion for who could be killed, you can drop it. But I mean, how devastating would it be if this time the dad dies? And the
Yes.
twins are now alone
Yes.
with Bamori,
Yes.
who is 27
Yes.
and has given up her whole adult life
Yes.
to stay at home after their
Yes.
mom died.
Yes. Absolutely.
I think it's the dad. Oh no.
I also have
Except
some
this time
questions.
maybe it doesn't look like Bamori's fault. Maybe this time it's like, yeah, that the illness just swept them. It wasn't from our traveling. It just happened.
I have some questions about what kind of illness it is, because you know,
Mhm.
I like to cause trouble. I just have some questions about it. That's all.
Yes.
I'm just
Ask
wondering
away.
if the second, like maybe that first illness was like, typhoid or something. Who knows? Um,
Mhm.
this is just a question that I'm just asking because I don't know. I wasn't there. Did that second illness, did that involve perhaps the area around where you were at, perhaps withering, like the water drying up, the vegetation dying, and then perhaps the father started wasting away, the color draining
You
from your
know,
father's skin? I don't know if that happened. Did it?
I'm thinking because she is a wanderer by trade, they are nomadic in nature, and now she has this beautiful place she has settled down in with these wonderful people, and maybe after her whole life, she's very proud of this. Bahui is proud. The siblings are still traveling. They come to visit, but Nori's just gonna set up camp here, and maybe she gets the dad and the twins to visit and stay for a minute, and the dad does not leave.
Hmm. You know what would be, it would be super awful if anything like that started happening in Hope, which I'm sure would never happen. I'm sure, like that would be.
So yeah.
I wouldn't even worry about it. I'm sure it would never happen.
Inconceivable.
Inconceivable. It's fine, and I'm sure there's nothing supernatural about it at all or worrisome. All right, so it's cool. Danny.
The chaos.
Evil.
So yeah, I'll have to roll 1d12 twice because both my parental figures are present. So I'll just roll 2. So I rolled a 6 and a 1.
A 6 and a 1. That is religion and attacked.
Okay.
How do you feel about that?
I think attacked makes sense with one of my parental figures.
Yeah.
Um,
And
The
please
rel-
note, no religious movement. Those could be like the United States invented all sorts of weird, like a gazillion religious movements, all sorts of stuff. Like it's could be anything really.
yeah.
There were cults. There were
Yeah, I think that could be a cool side quest for the parent that went out west,
yeah.
and maybe discovered a new religion. So I'm cool with both of those.
Nice. Note what you get, honey. What was your last? What did you have for your life events? I feel like you had. What did you have? What did you?
I have a 1d10 left to roll for extended family.
Please do it. I'm ready.
No, it's a 3. Ha! Jesus.
Yes. That's so weird. How do you feel about that?
You know, it just seems thematic. Yeah. I mean, I can roll with it. I'm trying to see. Because she's raised with the elite before she leaves to go, serve in the military. But prior to that,
It could have been in the elite, that moment where I'm just asking. I just have a question. Could it have been that you've been in some very elite plantation space with people with a lot of influence and money and all of that? And could it have happened? I don't know. I wasn't there. Could it have happened that weirdly, sort of out of nowhere, the crops at this plantation started to wither and die, and that perhaps somebody important in your extended family, maybe who had enemies, I don't know, I really can't say, might have also started withering and dying from some sort of mysterious illness that the best doctors could not figure out what it was. I'm just asking if that happened.
yes, and I have several touching and several hilarious scenarios in my head about how that went at the plantation in terms of in terms of, you know, the self quarantine. Where is Uncle so and so in that house? Where did that house come from? You know, we don't know what's happening. You know, it's probably her aunt's, you know, fourth or fifth husband.
Yeah.
And at this point, you know, Belle is not sure if they're just dying or if something more nefarious is happening, and that's why her aunt has this plantation, but it's just not gonna ask and read a book. Like this is
I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure it's
yes.
fine. Yeah. Quinn?
Okay.
Yes. I think I got a 1d4 left.
I believe
For
that is...
for
Hey, do you know
orphan?
Do you know what's in one? What do you know? What number is within 1 through 4? 3. I just. I'm just asking.
Let's do it. It's chosen. It's the illness.
Okay, I have a question for you because I wasn't there. Could it have been that in some circumstance a strange witheringness, an illness that hit people, but also the surrounding areas might have also hit some of your extended family? I don't know. I wasn't there, and I'm sure it has nothing to do with what might be happening next week that you might be concerned about in any way. I just have a question. It's just a question. Or was it like a flu? I don't know.
I no longer believe you when you say you weren't there. I don't buy it. You were there.
I never believed Trooper from the jump.
I think what I'd like to throw out as the variation,
please,
is the illness is like by us, but it actually conspicuously does not hit my family, just people we happen to come in contact with.
Yes, I like that very much. So this second time around, for some reason, your space doesn't get hit.
Right. We're okay. Just other folks are.
May I ask you another question? Again,
sure.
it's just like off. I don't know. Right? It's just off the top of my head. Did you sometime before this hit do an unexpected act of kindness to someone that a stranger you'd never met before?
Yes. And by act of kindness, probably it was like a lead into some sort of scam, which hopefully didn't like reverberate around when they found out. Like, you know, it just was okay.
Interesting. Cool. Just wondering.
Yeah.
So that right there brings us to the end of your humble beginnings, which leaves us with very little to ask except, what Paragon path have you all chosen? Who are you? Because I feel like now we've got here, the chat needs to know, what is your Paragon path? Danny, tell us. I need to know.
My Paragon path will stay the Tinkerer.
Tinkerer. What do
the Gadgeteer.
Gadgeteer. What is that about?
Gadgeteer. All about science and trying to literally reinvent the wheel in maybe fantastical ways. And pretty much a huge driven motive to help move our society forward, but also look out for family, close ones as well, and find a way to make money, become successful along the lines of that.
Nice. Okay. How about you, honey? What Paragon path?
Okay, Paragon path. I'm going to stick with what I originally selected, which was the Hunter. Even more so now that we've gone through the Oregon Trail of character creation. I'm gonna be completely honest. I now know what it feels like to be on this side, having done some similar ones with other books, and people are like, "Oh, and then your granny died, and then oh, and this, yeah, this is interesting." And for the people who are watching, my thing rewinded, but the hunter is basically what it sounds like: someone who is one with the earth, someone who is um, good at what she does. You call the great outdoors your home, often preferring your own company. Far from the city life, you use traps, weapons, sharp wits, and a keen eye to blaze trails and get the better understanding of your prey. Um,
And there
I'm
are
all
12 archetypes, by the way. So for those
yeah,
of you in chat, there are 12 different archetypes that you can do really different things, interesting and cool things with.
yeah. I know we've got some selections we have to make, but I almost see her in the City of Hope as this sheriff in everything but name. Like
Do you,
she doesn't want the title
yeah. Do you know why you're not the sheriff in name?
because no one's gonna take that seriously, really. She
Because,
is
because to have a sheriff, you must have a county. And Hope is not in a county. There is no county.
exactly.
So you can have somebody who acts as a sheriff, but Hope is not yet in a county, right? So there's no county seat, there's no official sheriff.
Hmm.
So any kind of sheriffing would be an unofficial job that you would do, right?
In so much as security, knowing who's supposed to be where they're supposed to be, the one that goes out to find, okay, my lamb is missing, my cow is missing,
Mm-hmm.
you know, my husband left 3 days ago. He has not been back, and she just come back and say, "I just move on, girl. I just move on." Like just the one that just she goes to investigate, and comes back, and so I think the hunter in that
Yep.
little bit of solitude,
Yeah.
she's seen war. She
Yeah.
doesn't seek violence out,
Yeah.
but she knows how to be violent if
Yeah.
need be.
Yeah. And because Hope cannot have an official sheriff because there is
Mhm.
no county, um, that's you, right? Like that's at least it does not. There's no official county yet. Uh, Brandy, what
Mhm.
Paragon path are you thinking of taking?
So I'm going to stick with the Drover, which is what I had originally chosen.
And what is that?
So that is somebody who is like making their living with grit, skill, and knowledge of the ways of man and beast. Like one of the things that really stuck out to me is in riding, roping, and shooting, you have few equals, and your bravery in bringing back a stray or heading off a stampede is legendary. So this is somebody who is like truly like heart and soul of the like cowboy mythos, like heart
Yeah.
and soul of the flashy side of being somebody from this time and this epoch and this era.
Yeah.
And I think that that fits Nori to a T. I think for her role within Hope, I think she helps like run the cattle ranch that they have in the way that like she doesn't always have to be there in person, but she brings people and she brings money and she brings like people that want to come by because people are like, I want to have my cattle bred with the cattle from from Nori's like town. This is where
Mhm.
she is, like this is what I want. They must be the best. I
Yeah.
want to see her perform. I want to
Yeah.
see where she is. So she is the little, just I don't know, little piece of its soul maybe, and she is probably the person people go to after they get the appropriately aged dump him sis, where she brightens brightens their spirits and is able to like make them smile again. Like she is very much like this little walking sunshine of a person. She is not, I don't, I think for all of this, I don't think she's haughty.
Yeah.
I just think that she's just big. She's just a big personality,
Yeah.
and she can't help it
I'm gonna have to
so
give each
much
of
as
y'all
like
some specialized info that you'll know some things about. I'm very excited for next week. Quinn, what Paragon path?
the totally unproblematic practitioner.
Interesting. And what do they do?
They engage in magic of all sorts. It can be alchemy, it can be like weird science, or there's this like interesting one called demonology.
Weird. Huh.
That I'm engaged.
I have a
in.
question for you. It's just a question. It's for no reason.
Oh,
Do you think that maybe there was something not particularly normal about that illness that hit your area twice?
Yeah, I mean, one could consider it like something of a growing pains of a budding demonologist, right? Because things kind of pop off when they go wrong, right?
Yeah.
I might or might not know something about that.
I'm just because look, I wouldn't worry about this, or I'm not trying to tempt you, because why would I do that?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
who might be able to give you answers? Demons. And I bet if you could like figure out a way to like contact them, harness them, make deals with them, I bet you could figure out what was going on. And I'm sure nothing bad would ever happen with a kind of obsession with that kind of a thing.
No, demons are just there to be asked things.
Yeah.
Right. And they don't ask anything. I mean, they're all like little Mother Teresas.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I'm sure no obsession has ever happened out of this.
Yeah. They're just giving.
Yes.
Perfect.
Cool. But we do need to know what your family relations are like, the ones who have survived. And how they feel about your weird obsession with demons. Like, this is a thing I want to know. Quinn, what relations do you have left? And would you like to roll or decide what kind of relationship that you have with them?
So I can. I think we've only lost. So parents are gone doing whatever. But out of the 6 siblings, we've only lost like 1. And the other ones are sort of around doing stuff. But I would love to roll for some just relations. So do we roll for each, or do we just like roll to generally
5d6?
Okay.
This
is gonna be good. Okay.
5, 3, 5, 1, 3. One sibling, actually 2 of your siblings, you have rivalry with. We'll come back to that one. A lifelong rivalry with this family member, always trying to outdo each other. 2 of your siblings, you have that relationship.
Nice.
2 of your siblings are loved, right? They love you. They think the sun and the moon like revolve around you, and they would walk through.
That's a mistake on their part, but
and you're going to get. They will do. It says loyal and willing to perform dangerous or criminal tasks to protect the Paragon without being asked, and you're going to be allies for those 2, and then you have one who likes you well enough, right? They like you, like they like you. Can you roll me 2 more d6? This is about your rivals. What kind of rivalry this is?
Oh no. Oh, I love it. 2d6, you said?
2d6, please.
Yep. 6 and a 4. Oh boy.
One of your rivals, it's a friendly rivalry. They like you, but they're your rivals. That's one of them. The other one does not like you very much at all, and this is a not friendly rivalry, and you're going to be treating this as a disliked with like a 2-jack penalty. So this is somebody who they don't actually like. This rivalry is not so funny. You're like, oh, ha rivalry. Yes, yeah, I know. It's a little bit more
that sibling blames me for the one who wasted away.
Yeah. And what do you do in the town?
I think like Moses basically kind of deals with sort of like illicit like contraband. Good, like he uses the saloon as like a way sort of
Mhm.
to like fence goods and
Mhm.
things like that.
I love all of you so much, so much. Danny, you have a sibling left, and do you have
I have a sibling and 2 parents left.
3d6, if you please,
3d6.
and note your results: a 2, a 1, and a 2. Oh, interesting. You have 2 favored and 1 liked. So, for 2 people in your family, you are their favorite, and you can rely on them for help. And for one of them, they like you. So, which of the 2 people of those 3 are you favored, and which of the 2 you are liked? Which of the 3? Yeah.
Hmm. Well, I still feel like I don't know my identical twin.
Mm.
So I think I'm okay. Like probably after I left my family's home to go pursue a life in academia and just being everyone's fixer-upper and all that. I think I mended some relationships with my parents. So I think those are definitely the 2 favored. But
Yeah.
for my identical twin, I still don't know much about them.
Well, I know about them. So
Or
are you
are they dead?
how would I know?
You probably weren't there. I don't know if you were there.
I wasn't there. But let's say I know things about your identical twin that your character doesn't know. That's all.
So what were the other options if I
You
didn't
have
roll?
loved, disliked, and rivalry.
Let's call it a rivalry. That makes
Excellent.
things spicy.
A friendly or unfriendly rivalry?
Very unfriendly.
Love it. Thank you for that present. Honey, how about you?
I have, well, and then my parents did not pass away that I know of. But I have my family, extended family member who I have decided is a reclusive uncle. The one that was the extended family, and he just had a lot of wives and other friends.
Roll a d6 for that person, or choose. Loved.
Oh, that's sweet.
Do you take it?
Sure, we can do that. It's a strained relationship, but yeah, he's probably very close with one of the family members. That's why he agreed to take me after the initial attack. It's just been challenging because of Belle's initial resistance to,
Yeah.
why do I need to learn 3 different languages?
Yeah.
Um,
It's a little wholesome, right? Sort
Mhm.
of. Yeah. Okay. Brandy, I know you've rolled. Tell me how it went. I need to know.
How? Well, yeah, I mean, you were right. I did roll. I rolled for everybody. So let's go.
I know it.
Aunt Bahui is 40. I decided she's exactly 20 years older than me. She's a cool aunt. I rolled loved, which was very lucky indeed because I grew up with her. It would have been real awkward if she hated me. So Bahui is, I am very beloved to Bahui. I have the Mori as the eldest sibling, 27, liked. She likes me. Fair. We didn't really grow up together, so that's nice. That's cool. Mitsa, 25, friendly rivalry, which is interesting because Mitsa and Ahui are the 2 siblings that Nori grew up with.
Yeah.
Actively, like, whole life grew up with. So Mitsa, 25, slightly older than me, about 5 years older than me, friendly rivalry. And then interesting, Ahui, 22, favored family member.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, well, we're closest in age, Ahui and Nori. So it makes sense. And then since I was like, well, if since Nori really took to the whole rodeo queen thing, I was like, maybe for Mitsa, who's 5 years older, who maybe didn't take to it as easily as Nori did, or maybe just is more introverted than Nori is. I was like, that could be, that could have been resentment, but it says friendly, like rivalry, and then I rolled friendly rivalry. I was like, okay, they love each other as siblings, but also I'm gonna beat you in everything that I possibly can, and when I can't, I will continue trying. And Ahui, it's kind of the whole like close sibling thing, where like even if Ahui's older, like you can still have a lot of admiration for a younger sibling.
Yeah.
I assume I only have the one. And then Sume, one of the twins, 16, one of the ones who grew up with the parents, I have dislike. She does not like me.
Interesting.
To be fair, in her mind, I'm probably the reason our parents are dead.
Yeah. It's not fair, but because it's probably something else.
But she's also 16. She's 16. At 16, you get to dislike people because they breathed at you.
True.
Ironically, twin Sure likes me. Probably because she has the brain cell.
Yes. My friends, we have basically our Paragon path rolls, and everybody gets one except for Moses, who's old enough to get two. So, I would like Moses to roll their one, and then I want all of us to roll that second one together. Moses, you have a Civil War roll. Everyone else has an Old West roll. And in your particular Paragon, there is a special path for you. And if you could roll your Civil War to find out how the war treated you, what happened during the Civil War years for your character, I would appreciate it. And then I would like all of us to roll, well, not me, because I'm just here to go and instigate, the Old West chart for your Paragon path. For you, Moses, that's
Is that a 1d8?
1d8.
Okay. Nothing can go wrong here.
Oh.
It'll be perfectly fine.
Yes.
1. Off to war.
You were pulled to war. Against your will or by choice? Was it by choice or against your will?
It was definitely against my will, because we have that cute little saying in the family, bullets hurt but words kill. Bullets hurt a lot. They do. It is not insubstantial, the pain that they do, so I would try to avoid that if possible.
Which side? Confederate or Union? How much drama do you want in your life is the question.
Confederate, because I think he was running for something.
Yeah.
He's like, okay, I get to duck out of this if I go on this side.
Roll a 1d6, and just roll a 5 or a 6.
5.
Perfect.
Actually.
You were on a diplomatic mission. That's what you did during the war. They had you do some kind of diplomacy, quote unquote, and you're going to get some scholar skills out of that. So just ponder that. And for everyone else, all 4 of you now, I'd like you each to roll on your Old West chart, all at the same time, and then read them out, because this is now going to all happen at the same time for you all. So maybe at this point in time, you know each other, or you can see if you can pull this in together. 2, 4. That's Danny and Quinn.
Mm-hmm. Oh man, this is perfect.
But I have. You said the Old West?
Yep, it's the last one in your.
Well, I get a 1d12. Okay.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
A
Jesus.
12. Mm-hmm. And what do you have, Brandy? By the way.
Oh yeah.
1 second.
So I just want to know.
4.
4. So what all did you get?
I crossed a line with my ritual.
Okay. I'm sorry. You crossed a line, which I want to know about that one.
Shocker.
Shocker! I am shocked. It's a lot of running from you. I'm shocked. Uh, 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 Danny, what about you? What is your
I
two?
I got governmental agent. I used my genius for a governmental body, and I think
Huh.
something I did has caught the eye of a governmental body, and they want me really bad to start working for them. But I don't know, like, I don't know if my heart is 100% in that opportunity yet.
Brandy.
Yeah, so I got gunslinger. Through my grit, determination, and skill with my weapon, I save people who need saving, or at least that's what I tell myself.
Interesting. Okay, we've got a governmental agent. A lot of interest there. We've got this crossing a line. We've got some gunslinging. And what about you, honey?
So this is going to be another one where I would like to roll one more time and then choose between those, just
Absolutely.
because. Okay, okay. And the choices were either butt of the joke or survivalist. And butt of the joke can work in so much as to look at Belle, you would not think she has the experience and expertise. And all it would take is one attack or something that knocked her down for people to be able to try to point to that and say, see, we said. But the other one is survivalist, and that makes the most logical sense.
Mm-hmm.
But butt of the joke makes the most, how do I say that? It makes for more difficulty and challenge for her. Like the people that know her capabilities, the people that look at her and have heard things, whether they be true or not, don't assume upon how dangerous she actually is.
Now we're going to note that this could have been a singular incident, right? There could have been
Correct.
one moment. And I want to roll. Can I roll? May I roll one die? Would you
Sure.
mind?
Go ahead.
I'd like to roll the Posse bonding event and see if all of these things can come together to end our stream.
Okay.
I'd
Real
like to roll
quick
the
before you
D6.
do that, I realized that I slipped on the PDF and I was in the wrong section. So
Okay.
I re-rolled. I
Would-
re-rolled. I did everything I need to do. So I re-rolled. I got an 8. I got That's Mighty Strange. Something odd happened to me, and the something odd I rolled was Ghost Riders. So I saw Ghost Riders, and my horse saved me. So sorry, I have to retcon that because I was accidentally in the gunslingers chart. I don't know why. PDFs.
I love that. So we have a ritual that goes wrong. We have some ghost riders showing up. We have this also being involved, a moment with you being the butt of the joke, and also a government agent now being super interested. Okay, and I'm gonna just roll this D6 to find out how we're gonna end this in a moment. Boomtown security. The group was hired to perform security for a boomtown. Was it eventful? So something happens that ends up with all of you end up being basically the protectors of hope, that involves a ritual gone crossing the line, a government agent being interested, a butt of the joke, and the ghost riders. How does that work, my friends? And by the way, did you do your job or rob the town and ride out?
I think we.
Yeah, right off
we
the
did
bat,
our
I think.
job.
Yeah.
Well, maybe y'all did. I'm thinking because I'm in, like I would assume that they hired me as the gadgeteer to come up with something. So I was on the inside.
Yeah.
And maybe I didn't see some things that I gelled with, because this isn't Hope, right? They hired us from Hope.
It's up to you all. You can choose. Either this brought you to hope, or this was not hope. This is y'all's choice.
Okay.
I think maybe it's hope related. I feel like maybe it didn't happen in there, but we did it maybe on behalf of hope, right? Like we did maybe some mission and some other.
Because this is the thing that really brings you all together as a group. This thing, this event that happens, is what brings you all together.
I kind of feel like maybe one of the other towns has been sort of threatening hope, and we sort of went back with sort of like counter intimidation, be like, oh hey, we got something for you, right?
Mm.
Which is where we bring out the gadgets and the demon and stuff like that, and we'll be like, so we'll stop this, but what if we got, like, I know on the cross line ritual there is something about a town being destroyed as
Uh-huh.
part of it, so it
Uh-huh.
can be pretty potent.
Yeah.
And
Oh.
it's possible that they just, at this time, I did not know everyone well enough to even know what they were going to do. And I get caught in that particular crossfire and badly
Mhm.
injured.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
and that's how I meet everybody is I go in to try to help people without
Yeah.
knowing that you all are in there to endeavor to sabotage people.
Yeah.
And I'm
Mhm.
hurt by that, but just also kind of like, hey, what's up? I'm Belle.
Yeah.
Who wants to fix this hole in my stomach? You
Mhm.
know, just
Yeah.
just
Mhm.
Mhm.
I'll volunteer to fix the
I
whole
think
thing.
that works out well because then the drover is also like, okay, I've come in also to help.
Mhm.
Wow, you're here to help. You're injured. What the, HE double hockey
Mhm.
sticks are you two doing?
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
then just like, trying to help and save
Mhm.
where I can.
Yeah.
And
I'm,
that's how we all get together.
I'm picturing there's just like one moment, it's like where where Moses is just like, okay, I'm just gonna like summon like the demon and stuff like that, and it's like, oh, you're just gonna summon, like, wait, what, right? And like,
Um,
and release.
so I'm going to say that there was a town, and this is probably going to be like what, a year or two ago, maybe something like that.
Okay, yeah.
That was big, full of a lot of sort of like kind of wealthy people trying to push their weight around, and they wanted to push you all out, right? This town was like, fairly aggressive because look, they want your space, they want your land, like heavy-handed, like coming in, like threatening and all that. Uh, you go take care of it. In the process, the entire town is destroyed. Destroyed. And like in flames, right? And I feel like Nori sees the Ghost Riders leaving, like like something not good is coming out of this in some kind of a way, and somebody from the town, a couple people from that town escaped though. One of them is a bit of a government official, let's say, whatever that might mean. And there is a new town that has been built, Jonestown Refuge, Johnstone's Refuge, which is an all-white town led by one or two of the survivors of that old town, that because they were very, very rich, had a lot of influence, able to rebuild, and they maybe are not happy with your town. Let's say that. Let's say perhaps they're not perhaps they're not a little they're a little unhappy about your town, um, and I feel like that will be where we start next week,
Okay.
my friends.
Awesome.
Mhm.
I love it.
I would like at this moment, each one of you, we're going to do our outros because that is it. That is it. So if you would, tell me who you are, give a plug, and let me ask you this question to answer, because I always like to give something for you to answer. You have been in Hope. Now it's been 2 years. You found silver has been found in Hope. Hope is now booming. There are people coming into Hope in large, large numbers. You're doing so well. It's so great. But Johnstone's Refuge, which is currently an all-white town full of people who are not happy with you all, which is also now quite prosperous, is your rival town, and they are lurking, and some threats have started. What does your character think about that at this moment? Is my question. Uh, Brandy.
Hi, everybody. I am Brandy Rose. You can find me on Twitter at the Brandy Rose. You can find all of my links and my socials at brandyrose.card. That's CARRD.co. There you can find a list of all of my guest appearances, all of my credits, and all of the shows because I produce I produce and I host and I co-host a lot of shows. We're actually hitting 10 this year. Two of my main flagship shows are Eat Crit and Cringe Warning. So if you like TTRPGs, you want to support creators of color, you want to see how they did what they do from beginning to current, check out Eat Crit. We just wrapped, more or less, we're currently wrapping the first season of Eat Crit, and on the other episodes, we air twice a week. You get to see, well, hear me speed run and DM off the cuff a new indie game designed by another BIPOC creator every single week. So make sure to check that out. Or if you like anime or you are very passionate about your hobbies, you should check out Cringe Warning, which was born out of the fact that I'm afflicted with cringe to a point where I am very proud of it. And you should check it out because I get some really amazing creators on that show to talk about their passion projects and the things that they love. And it's also where I met my best friend. So, you know, it's always fun. All of my games, all of my stuff, the things that I design and work on, you can find it on my Twitter at @thebrandy_rose. And Nori has settled in now. We've been in Hope for 2 years. She has an NPC that I didn't mention yet on this stream that's probably coming and going and visiting and uprooting her life a little bit internally. And she's got a lot on her plate. Well, she's got one person on her plate, but he's a lot. And now with this coming in, she is righteously annoyed. She is confused. She's like, what? Why? What? We are just living here. But if I have to get out there again after 2 years of relative peace, I will do that. I will do what needs to be done to protect this town and its wonderful people.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. Danny.
What's up, y'all? My name is Danny. You can find me all over the internet at Brutal Dan on Twitch, TikTok, and the Twitters. I'm the community manager for Roll20, and this game was, this is just the beginning, and I'm just like beaming already. Thank y'all, everybody, for joining us in chat. By the way, this was
Thank you,
amazing.
chat.
You can find me, of course, here Tuesdays, but also on Tuesday mornings. I am playing an actual play of Iron Edda Reforged with the amazing B Zelda that's in chat that has been helping us mod, as well with
So
DJ and Tracy as well. Every other Wednesday, you can find me on the Friends Who Roll Dice channel playing in Urban Shadows 2nd edition as well. And yeah, I'm just super stoked. I think for Raiden, he has been tasked to set up create ways to prove that these people from Johnstone's Refuge, that they are actually creeping on our territory, that they're here. We haven't had proof yet. We've just heard ramblings, and Raiden has been tasked by the government to come up with a way to catch them in the act.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Honey.
Hi, everybody. I'm Honey, aka Honey and Dice. You can find me on Twitter at Honey and Dice. You can find me on Instagram at Honey and Dice. There's nothing there. I just didn't want anyone to take the name. My credits, everything that I'm working on, and so on, including the Love Your You initiative and Honey Bunches of Hope. Ha 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 ha! I love that name. Charity initiatives can be found there as well. Outside of that, I run games, I play games, I write games, but more than anything, I like to remind people that to love your you. And if that's hard today for whatever reason, know that that's okay, because it's okay to be okay and it's okay to not be okay. Surround yourself with people who celebrate your successes and support you through your challenges. If they're only there at one time or the other, they were never there for you to start with. But I want to be there for you, and I hope you'll come back to watch us and participate in such a positive chat experience. And I hope to see you all next week. Belle really, like, when everything kicked off with the other town, she wasn't involved in that part. Like, she had just got out this way, and she spends a lot of time writing those letters to her uncle for quiet advice on how to proceed. She's a very, very strategic person, prefers to read her books or explore and stay to herself. But because the people she's started to learn to care about are in danger, she's trying to strategize kind of like, how do we approach this in a way that protects us? And she's still trying to investigate what happened, because it hurts her heart because of the attack that happened when she was little,
Yeah.
and how
Yeah.
that kind of is a lasting impression,
Yeah.
that a whole town of people lost their town, lost their homes, and so on, and that it was something due to her group of associates. So,
Ooh. Quinn,
Yeah. Uh,
before you say
sorry.
anything, I just want you to know one thing. It shouldn't have happened that way.
No, that is not how it was written down at all.
No, something happened that took what you meant to do and did that. That something happened. I don't know what. Maybe I do. Go ahead. Give us your outro.
Yeah. So Quinn Murphy. I am a game designer. I talk too much about it on Twitter under QH_Murphy, and I don't have anything like coming out right now, but stuff will be coming soon. And then if we're talking about Moses, so Moses, when you do as much shady stuff as Moses does, you I think practice, or he's very practiced at like selective amnesia / blinders, right? He's like, hey, I did something wrong here, cool, and now I'm going to do something wrong here, and he just kind of like compartmentalizes everything, and he usually has a bunch of stuff up in the hopper, but he's watched over the last couple of months all the stuff in the hopper dry up, right? He's got contacts in this town that just have just disappeared, like not talking to him. He can't find him. He can't find words of him. And so like all these lines he has coming in are drying up. He thought it was his sibling that hates him at first, right? But it's happening to that sibling too.
Yeah.
And so now I think when we start play, he's like pulling out his hair,
Yeah.
trying to figure out where all his money's going.
Yeah. My friends, I am Trooper SJP, and I am the I don't know, the ring master, the juggler. I don't know, for this amazing crew of people. You can find me at Trooper SJP on Twitch on Fridays at 7 p.m. Eastern. I GM a Fate French Resistance campaign called City of Light and Shadow. You can find me there. You can also find me this Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern at Table Story, where I'll be playing in a Tidal Blades game, which will be like fun and cool. And tomorrow you can find me on Other Doc channel doing a 1970s spy little one shot, and I've got an amazing afro wig because my hair does not do that anymore. And you can find me all those places. I love you all, and I will say I'm very excited for next week when there's a town out for revenge, and I'm sure that town was not doing anything nefarious before or after, but they were. And the governor of the state is going to come and visit their town on the last episode of our 4-part mini-series to see how it's going for political reasons. And I am sure that it will be fine, that our Paragons, it will be great. It will be great. I'm sure we don't have to worry about any kind of wasting disease. We don't have to worry about a town that was doing sketchy things that might be out for revenge when the governor's on her way. You'll have to come back next week to find out what happens and how these amazing people fare. So thank you, all of you. Thank you very much for being here. Give love to people, to yourself, to people in your life, and use Roll20. It's pretty amazing. There's great stuff in here. You can pre-order the Roll20 version of Haunted West. Is available. The pre-order? It will come out in the second quarter, but right now you can go to the marketplace over on Roll20 and pre-order it, and we'll have all the stuff in there. The book itself is amazing. You can also get it at Darker Hue Studios. Go find it. It's amazing. Check it out. It's a great labor of love with amazing research, and the things are wonderful. Do it, have it fun, play it, and take care of yourselves, everyone. Bye.